Hello everybody and welcome to an unconventional list video here at Playing Board Games. I'm Justin, and before I dive into the video, if this is your first video watching with us, consider liking the video, subscribing to our channel if you've not subscribed. We release a different Arkham horror video every day of the week, as well as a list video every Thursday. Also, if you already subscribed, consider leaving a comment about which deck you're most excited about of these 5 decks that I'm going to talk about today. As I said, this video is a little bit unconventional for a list video. It's a brand new style. It's just me here, but I've been thinking a lot about the customizable cards. There's a lot of different avenues you can take, a lot of different decks you can go, so I wanted to build 5 decks around 5 different customizable cards that aren't like too conventional about what you would immediately think about doing with the cards, apart from maybe the first one that we're going to talk about. Like, I'm not just like, hey, here's the Hunter's Axe, and it's going to swing like crazy. So this is kind of like a little bit new form for us, so why don't we try it out, see from it, see how it is. I'm going to have a visual image of all the decks on the screen, but if you want to follow around with them, you can find the link to the Arkham DB in the description of the video. But why don't we dive in? I guess I should probably get some time codes here, shouldn't I? To our first deck, which is a Tommy and his Magic Hunter's Armor. So this one is actually pretty basic. It was the first idea I had, and I think it's not a surprise that Tommy Muldoon plays well with assets. Tommy's ability is that when an asset is defeated, he gains resources equal to the amount of damage or horror on it, and then it shuffles into his deck. So Hunter's Armor obviously is really good. Because Tommy he can run Guardians 0 to 5, he can have 10 check marks on the Hunter's Armor. So we went with Enchanted. It gains the Relic trait and takes up an Arcane slot instead of the Body slot. This means we can now have 2 of these Hunter Armors in play, which is kind of fun. Protective Runes, it may be assigned damage or horror dealt to other investigators your location. This sounds like we're here to soak, which is true, but also at the same time, it's kind of just there so they die quicker, so we get a lot of money out of it. You know, that's also a plus side. Durable and Hallowed gives a +2 health and +2 sanity, so in a perfect world, this thing doubles back what you put into it, which is like the best investment in the world. Just doubles it like that. And then the last thing we have is Armor of Thorns. After 1 or more damage or horror is assigned to Hunter's Armor from an enemy attack, you may exhaust it to deal 1 damage to that enemy. So we're going to attack back. And our deck kind of goes with that. So you can see that our weapon choices, apart from Becky herself, which is not included on this because it is a signature, even though I don't follow that line of reasoning much further than this, this slide right here. But we have Meat Cleaver and Survival Knife for our weapons. Meat Cleaver because we can use it to kill our own magic armor, which is kind of sick. But also just because, you know, it's a pretty alright weapon for 3 money. Survival Knife as well. This is the non-upgraded Survival Knife because we actually want to take damage from enemies. As you can see on the far right of this, we also have Guard Dog here as well, the upgraded Guard Dog. So that means that, like, in the enemy phase, we can potentially deal, I think Superfang in chat was like 7 to 9 damage. So like they deal damage to Guard Dog, they deal damage to one of the Hunter's Armor, then you can deal a bunch back, and then you also have your Survival Knives and your Vicious Blows, and you can kind of just go nuts. It's a really cool idea where like Tommy is here to just like, he's like doing his best Daniela Reyes impression. That's kind of like what this deck is all about. We have Cherish Keepsake for the accessory slot. We have Backpack to also, you know, to find our items, our supplies, our armors, all good things that we want to get. And then also it's just like a really good card. We have Bandolier as well, because then we can hold Becky, and then also like probably a Survival Knife is kind of like the optimal goal, but we could still hold like 2 Survival Knives and a Meat Cleaver if we want to just be really nuts about it. Remember that our Hunter's Armor in this deck takes up the Arcane slot instead of the Body slot. So we actually can run 2 Hunter's Armor and Bandolier or Backpack, depending on which one you find first. Guard Dog is one of our allies, but we also got Tetsuo Mori. Because we're running Guard Dog and Tetsuo, we would love both of them in play at the same time because they're just here to soak and help us, like, you know, deal damage or find things. So we have Charisma here as well. I'm only running 2 copies of Solemn Vow in this deck, just because I think that's like all you really need, and also like I build for 3 players mostly, and even if you play this in 4 players, it's kind of okay if someone just doesn't get it. But the plus side of Solemn Vow in Tommy is that it allows another players to help you kill your things to the perfect amount, which is really good in Tommy because you just get really good juice that way. We have short supply here because, well, we have salvage and resourceful, which will make more sense when we get down to those cards, but you can actually peek at them right now. Some of our economy, we have upgraded emergency cash, gain 3 resources, draw a card. End of the Road is just a really good level 0 survivor card that I'm probably going to be playing a lot of until I get sick of it, and then I'll play it a little bit less. Lucky, see the previous comments about End of the Road, but I'm still not sick of Lucky. I still think it's really good. Here's a fun little juicy Edge of the Earth card. We got Salvage. Choose an item in your discard pile, so you remove that asset from the game and gain resources equal to the cost, or play that asset. So, someone in chat when I was building these decks live on Twitch, someone said, what are we going to do if we lose Hunter's Armor to our rookie mistake? And then I'm like, you know what's not a rookie mistake? Running this sick-ass Salvage card, because the card's really cool and really good. Yeah, so it's also it doubles as economy, but it also is just like a way for us to play things that we might have lost. Specifically the Hunter's Armor. Like, that's like where it gets like really juicy. Stand Together, economy. Economy is good. And then our 2 skills in this deck are Resourceful and Vicious Blow. That should be pretty self-explanatory. So this deck is like a Tommy deck. So Tommy decks, by their very nature, are very simple. He's kind of just a tank. And this deck kind of puts that tank up to the extreme. He's there to soak damage and deal damage in the process. I think this deck can be very good and very powerful. All the decks in this video are 29 experience. I don't have level 0 decks for them. But luckily with this deck, you can kind of just like take the basic versions for the majority of the cards in this deck. The only thing that actually you cannot upgrade into is Salvage, which could probably start as, honestly, even just a scrounge for supplies. This is going to be less true once we see, you know, like, more cards come out of this, but this is the Tommy deck. I think it's really cool and really fun. Once again, the link to these decks are in the description, so if you wanted to look at them at your own pace or try them out yourself, you can find them down there. But why don't we keep this going, which our next one here, this one stumped me. So this is Vincent Lee in his Magic Doctor book. As I said, I was trying to do something a little bit interesting with each of these decks, and this one, the Seeker ones are all just kind of boring. But this went through a lot of changes, but we have the Raven Quill. So the upgrading thing is cool, but we are really just doing this for the upgrades we have. So Mystic Vein, you get +2 skill value while performing a skill test on attached asset. And then Supernatural Record. When you play the Raven Quill, instead of attaching it to a named asset you control, you may search your deck and discard pile in hand for a copy of the named asset and play it, paying its cost. So basically we're using this as additional copies of Grey's Anatomy. Grey's Anatomy is not a cheap card, so like this whole thing costs 6 experience. But this is a flex Vincent Lee deck. You're here to fight with your Bonesaw, you're here to heal, and you're here to get clues. Basically, like, Vincent Lee has a lot of different directions you can take it. Evidenced by the fact that I went through a lot of different versions of this deck until I settled on this one, which I think is probably the best version of all the decks that I had. So Bonesaw, it's here because it is relevant. We are going to be fighting with it. Grey's Anatomy is kind of like the opposite of Raven Quill. They are best friends in this one. So Grey's Anatomy, it's going to be the only card that I'm going to read the text verbatim. But you got to choose a card of your location and test book 1. With Raven Quill attached to it, it becomes, you get +2 to the test. So you get +2 book because of the Mystic Vein. Then, the next time that card would be healed this round, so for each point you succeed by, you choose 1. The next time this card would be healed this round, you heal +1 damage or horror. The next time this would be dealt damage this round, you deal +1 damage. So this allows Vincent to get a really good idea of what he wants to be doing. If he needs to be healing people, he can do this, or if he needs to be killing people, he can put a lot of damage on the enemy. I think it's a really fun build, and it doesn't even need to be damaged by an attack that you do. It can be like this toe-to-toe that we have down at the bottom of the screen. I think it's a very fun idea for a deck, and I'm very curious to try it out myself. I'm going to try out all these decks because they all seem really cool. Hallowed Mirror to help with healing. 2 backpacks to help us find things. Jessica Hyde because she's just very good in in Vincent. She's probably great in Luke, I don't know, but Luke can't play him. Anything's good in Luke Robinson, am I right? But Jessica Hyde, when she heals from the damage that he takes, like the Bonesaw, for example, Vincent gets an on the mend. And that's a really cool effect. Bandages to help you heal and also give people on the mends. Surgical kit to heal people and give them on the mends while also giving you more cards. Studiouses are here for you to draw additional cards to get to really be able to find your Raven Quills, or alternatively your Grey's Anatomy, but Raven Quill is nicer because it comes into play attached to it. We have Bizarre Diagnosis here to act as some of our clue, some of our healing potential, but also it's just 2 book icons. That's why it's just a 1 of. We have a 1 of Emergency Cache. This feasibly could be 2 instead of the Bizarre Diagnosis. But, really, once you get your pieces down, this deck is pretty cheap, right? The Raven Quill is obviously the expensive part. But then, after a while, you don't really need to play much more. One thing I've noticed as well is that Raven Quill is an item, so you actually can find it on Backpack. It's an item event. So cool. That's cool. Luckies, because once again, I love the card. Practice makes perfect, because if you look down at our 4 skills in this deck, they're all practiced, and they're all good. Deduction, Overpower, Perception, Vicious Blow. You can find the tool you need depending on what you need to be doing. You also can, because you're the flex, you're not looking at just getting clues or fighting. You can, if your main clover or fighter is doing those things, you can practice makes perfect and maybe jump on that test, which is really cool. Stand Together gets economy. There's the Raven Quill. Toe-to-toe I already talked about, and all the skills. This deck's also pretty basic and pretty simple. I mean, most decks I build in this game are kind of just efficient value piles, and that's what this is. It's pretty much just more of that. I do think the Grey's Anatomy Dream is kind of fun. I don't know if this deck is going to be particularly good, but I think Vincent Lee's stat line and his ability are really good, and his deck pool is also kind of sick. So, yeah, maybe try this one out if you were looking for a Vincent Lee, Raven Quill, Grey's Anatomy deck for some reason. Okay. Now we're on probably my personal favorite deck of the 5 decks we have here. This is Trish Scarborough and her Reputable Testimony. Like the Seeker cards, the Rogue cards are just really good. I think all 3 Rogue customizable cards are just really good cards. Luckily, though, we found a very fun line while building this deck that I think is going to be, it's a really enjoyable time that we have here. This one's going to be a bit of a doozy, so let's buckle up and get in. So, Damning Testimony, customizable, uses 3 evidence. As an action, you can exhaust Damning Testimony and choose an enemy at any location, investigate. If you succeed, you may spend 1 evidence to discover 1 additional clue at the chosen enemy's location. So, Trish is green, and she can run 10 check marks on this. However, you'll note that we only have 5. And that's because I actually didn't think I needed more. I like the Blackmail because +2 book helps Trish get to 6, but the Surveil's also really good. So you may use Damning Testimony's ability to investigate the chosen enemy's location instead of your location. That's kind of just turns on Trish's ability every turn, which is kind of cool. I think it's just it makes it so that she can then always use her ability. She can spend the evidence to get additional clues, but she doesn't need to. I think it's I think that it's just a cool thing that we have here, and we're going illicit tribal, baby. That's what we're doing here. So this is 2 slides. This one's easier to see the whole deck in Arkham DB, which you can find down in the description. But we have Underworld Market. You get +10 deck size, and you choose 10 illicit cards to make your market deck. You reveal 2 of them at the start of your turn. You spend 1 resource to draw 1 of them and place the rest on the bottom in any order. So, Damning Testimony, it's illicit. We're going to be running 2 of those in our Underworld Market deck. Thieves Kit, illicit. It's a tool that's going to help us investigate. We can use our book, and we're probably going to use our book, but it also gives us resources, which has some perks when we get into the other part of this deck. Pickpocketing. I went with this. This could be lockpicks, but I wanted to not play with lockpicks, so we're trying out not lockpicks in this deck. It feasibly could be, and it probably would be a better deck, but let's try something new was what I was thinking. We have I'll Take That, a new really good card in the Scarlet Keys box. It allows you to play an item, reducing its cost by X, where X is the amount you succeeded by while investigating or evading an enemy, or investigating with Trish Scarborough. The last card here in our Underworld Market deck is probably the card that when we realized we could play this. It kind of just took it to the next level. Hidden Pocket. Attached to a clothing or armor asset you control, attached asset gains, you have one additional hand or accessory slot, which can only be used to hold an illicit asset. So the nice thing about Underworld Market, it allows us to take 10 of our cards out of our deck, and then like these are like is our illicit pile, and then we can just put our deck with like other good cards. So before I get into the deck as a whole, I want to look at Stylish Coat and Hiking Boots, because those are both clothing. Those are both clothing items that we will use passively, that also we can put a hidden pocket into. How fun is that? That's just a great time. So, in this deck, 2 magnifying glasses to help us investigate. Lucky cigarette cases, because the card's really good. Going back to my point, yes, this would be better, as probably with some lockpicks in here, because Lucky cigarette case is really nice. But that's not what I'm going to be doing here, so you're just going to have to suck it up, aren't you? Dr. Milan Christopher to give us book and also gain money. Pathfinder to help us spend less time moving. 1 copy of Another Day, Another Dollar. As I said, this could probably easily be lockpicks. Just get more money at the start of the game. The upgraded Breaking and Enterings, because the card is just absolutely bonkers. Captivating Discovery to help us find what we want and place clues on our location. Deep Knowledge. Card draw is good. Faustian Bargain. Economy is good. Kicking the Hornet's Nest. Okay, let's talk about this. This card's absolutely wild in Trish. Search the top 9 cards of your deck for a non-elite enemy and spawn and engage with you. Instead of its normal spawn location, then discover 1 clue at your location and gain X resources, where X is that enemy's health value. Trish gains the clue. She evades the enemy. How cool is that? That's such a good effect. In addition as well, both this and Dr. Milan Christopher work really well with Stylish Coat, just giving you even more money every time you do them. Shortcut, it helps you move. It's a great card. Deduction, and Deduction helps us get more clues. Eureka helps us find more cards. Perception helps us get more clues and get more cards. And Quick Thinking lets us do all of the above, because it just gives us an extra action. The deck this is the deck that I'm most excited to play myself. It doesn't hurt that green-yellow is a great combination and one of my favorites. And Trish is a very good investigator. But I think this deck's really fun. And I hope you also think that, and you might want to play it too, and that this is like, so far we're going at least 2 for 3 in decks that make you go, huh, that's cool. I kind of want to try that out. So let's keep it going and see if we can go at least 3 of 4. But let's try to go 4 for 4. Okay. We have Daisy and her magic clue-getting dog. So we got Summon Servitor. Daisy can only run purple 2, which means she can only get 4 check marks, but we don't need more than 4 check marks. So Summon Servitor. Additional cost to play Summon Servitor, you must discard another asset you control. If Summon Servitor enters play at your location, it can take 1 action during each of your turns, which can only be used to take the following action. Move it to a connecting reveal location, or Eyes of Flame, investigate your location with a base book of 4. Wings of Night, after it moves, you may move with it. And Dominance, it no longer takes up the ally slots. And this now only takes the arcane slot, but basically every turn this is either going to move, and you're going to move with it, or if it doesn't need to move, you're going to investigate an additional time for free at a base of 4. However, it still gets the bonuses from any book bonuses we have. So before I get to the first 4 cards, Dr. Milan and Death, they each boost our book, which in turn means that they boost the Summon Servitor's book. Which, with Dr. Milan and Death in play, that means that our Summon Servitor is now investigating at 6. So you get a free 6 investigate every turn. Going to our tomes in this deck, we have Grim Memoir, just a really good tome with Daisy, allows you to draw cards and you can get a free investigate every turn. Old Book of Lore, obviously very good in Daisy. Like that's just like Daisy's signature. We're doing the upgraded one because it helps kind of like, pay for our economy a little bit. And sometimes you're going to Old Book of Lore into Summon Servitor, and that's kind of just okay. And then you're going to sacrifice your Old Book of Lore to summon the Summon Servitor. To just, like send it into the stratosphere. We have Scroll of Secrets as another asset to get what we need, like to get some value out of it, and then discard it to the Summon Servitor. Because remember, the Summon Servitor needs to be... needs to have something that is discarded to play. Luckily, though, this deck will do fine without it until you get it set up. But don't be surprised if you're able to like get the Summon Servitor out as like turn 2. You get 2 uses as Scroll of Secrets, and then you replace it with a Summon Servitor. That's just good value. We have Divination. This is here for 2 reasons. Clue compression, but also it's a Mystic asset that will eventually empty, which means we can use it on Summon Servitor or another card, Sacrifice, which is just below it further down this page. Burning the Midnight Oil, Economy, Captivating Discovery, helps us find clues. This is going to be even easier to put down a bunch of clues because we're going to be getting so many clues with Summon Servitor in addition to the clues we're going to be getting on our turn. Crack the Case is Economy, and Economy is always good. As you'll notice, you always got to run a good chunk of Economy in your deck. Even if you end up not needing it, you'll always want more than you need. Sacrifice, so this was kind of a little bit cheeky, where I was like, what happens if the Summon Servitor gets too far away from you? You can just kill it. Turn it into cards. And then play another one. Summon another one. However, as I said, this also has some synergy with Divination. Because once your Divination is empty, you can sacrifice it to draw more cards, which I think is kind of cool. I think that's kind of neat. Notably, the Summon Servitor still takes the Arcane slot, the spell slot. So you are going to have to... you can't have 2 Divinations and the Summon Servitor in play. Just something to be aware of. Ward of Protection, good card. Deduction, level 2s, great card. Enraptured and Ghastly Possession are both here to put more secrets on our Grim Memoir. You also could use them on Divination. I don't think it's as particularly exciting, but it's still like a fine use for both of them, right? I played Ghastly Possession Grim Memoir, and it's a good time. And then the last thing we have here is our awkward one of is a Perception 2. Cards just good. Cards are just good. I think this deck is very fun. And this is another one that I think it's probably like my second favorite. It's just nice and simple and really basic and just kind of like really stupid. It's unnecessary, which is sometimes the best type of deck that you can have. Okay, last deck here. We have Rita Young and her trap that does things. We got a 1-cost event, Makeshift Trap. Uses 2 time. If it has no time, discard it. Attach your location. Each non-elite enemy in attached location gets -1 fight and -1 evade. At the end of the round, remove 1 time from Makeshift Trap. We have put 5 experience into this. And I know you're thinking, why not the dynamite? Trust me, chat wanted it too, but we did eventually get out of the dynamite. So improved timer. When you play it, you may increase or decrease its uses by 1. Tripwire only trigger its forced ability if there are 1 or more enemies at attached location. And Makeshift Trap gains, for simple, it gains fast and play during any lightning bolt window. This is a very good upgrade. And then Poisonous, when you remove 1 or more damage, deal 1 damage to an enemy at attached location. So this deck is kind of like a Rita deck. So it's like doing a lot of things, and it's doing them in a very Rita fashion. However, Rita got a really big boost in Scarlet Keys called Dirty Fighting. So Dirty Fighting is the 3rd card there at the top. Limit 1 per investigator. While attacking Parlay and attempting to evade an exhausted enemy, you get +2 skill value. After you evade an enemy, exhaust Dirty Fighting, take a fight action against that enemy, ignoring the aloof keyword for this attack. So now when Rita evades an enemy, she gets to deal it a damage with her ability, and then take a fight action. Either a base fight action, with just her a fist, so that she attacks at 5, or she can use the weapon in this deck, which is a baseball bat, allowing her to attack at 7. So, very good card. Very nice for Rita, and a lot of very powerful potential there. So, you might be wondering, what the hell is the Makeshift Trap doing in this deck? It's a little bit memey. Using the Exploit Weakness and Gumption here to potentially just eliminate an enemy completely. But enemies have low evade values. And Exploit Weakness is kind of just something, it's the second card on the row down on the left. In the second row leftmost card. It's kind of just interesting to see how much this card would trigger. You definitely could focus on it more, adding like Quick Learner into this deck. But I wanted this not like overload on that and just kind of like still just have this Makeshift Trap. You can evade an enemy, deal the damage, attack it with Dirty Fighting. And then if it has like 4 health, finish it off with the poison gas coming from your Makeshift Trap. I think there's a lot of potential there. But the Exploit Weakness, Gumption, and then -1 fight evade from the Makeshift Trap, I think are both... It's just like a fun little package that exists in this deck. Otherwise, we have a lot of traditional good Rita things as well as a few new pieces. Baseball bat, the new version of level 2, it can go to your hand instead of breaking, which is good. It's a very nice, very clean upgrade, and I think that it now gives Rita another tool to play with. This could be a Derringer. It's really just up to the dealer, but I wanted to try this baseball bat out in this deck because it just felt more right to me. Righter, if you will. Peter Sylvester gives you foot and brain, but also never die. Dirty Fighting I talked about. We have Disguise here, which is just like a slip away on a stick that you could use 4 times for like less mana. Less money? Mana, here I am in magic mode. I think it's a very good card and very nice in Rita. Track shoes, more foot, more move. Good combination. Breaking and entering. I said it before, Trish, it's a very nice upgrade, very good in Rita. I think it's just a very strong card, and it allows her to flex on turns where she is not fighting. This is a fighting deck. I think Rita can actually be a very successful lone fighter, but still breaking and entering can like give her time, and then also lets her use her ability to ping an enemy when she evades someone with it. It's a very good card, and you're probably going to succeed by 3 or more with all of your foot boosts that you have here. 3 copies of Easy Mark because economy and card draw is good. Lucky, I've said it before, I'll say it again. You got to play that card. Lucky's a very good card. Scrounge for supplies can grab your Luckies, your exploit weaknesses, that's pretty much it. Your Resourcefuls. Your Resourcefuls are also a good hit. It's just a good card for this deck. It could be something else because like there's not too many hits, but still it's there to kind of help facilitate the exploit weakness meme, while also still giving additional copies of Resourceful and Lucky as well. Sweeping Kick, I love the card. I love it in Rita. There's not much more to say. Sweeping Kick's just a really good card. Brute Force, really good with Dirty Fighting. Really good with Dirty Fighting. You get a free +5 attacks. You're attacking at 8 after you evade something. Whoo! Whoo! That's a good little effect there. We got Gumption, great card. Reducing the test. And then Resourceful, another good card. So, those were our 5 decks built around customizable cards. I hope you enjoyed this video. As I said, it was a little bit more, a little unconventional for one of our list videos, and I did a new style for how to showcase decks. So if you liked it and how it looked, please let me know in the comments. In addition, if you liked any of these decks or if you were going to try them out, let me know in the comments as well. And if you want to see me do another one of these videos for more customizable cards, let me know in the comments as well. In the meantime, huge thank you to all of our patrons because your support for the channel allows us to extend and grow farther than we ever thought possible. If you want to support the channel, you can find a link to our Patreon down below. However, have a great rest of your Thursday or whatever day of the week it is as you're watching this. Have a good one, and as always, GG's!